Is Mormonism a cult? According to the dictionary, a cult has been traditionally defined as a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object. However, in recent years, the term has come to mean something different. Today, a cult is often viewed as a relatively small group of people having beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister, or as exercising excessive control over members. Similar to the issue of whether Mormons are Christians, the question of whether the church is a cult comes down to how you define the term cult. Mormons venerate Jesus Christ and do not believe their doctrine to be evil. They also emphasize the principle of agency, which teaches against excessive control or unrighteous dominion. Beginning in the 1950s, a defrocked minister named Walter Martin began writing a series of pamphlets that attacked the doctrines and beliefs of several minority faiths, including the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In 1965, he published a book entitled The Kingdom of the Cults. This book was especially popular among members of the evangelical counter-cult movement. The book was extremely influential, selling over 750,000 copies. It also helped start over 750 anti-cult ministries. The movement sought to discredit new religions and labeled Jehovah's Witnesses, Christian Scientists, Buddhists, and various Eastern religions and Latter-day Saints as cults. Martin used Charles Braden's definition of a cult with modifications of his own. Braden explained, "By the term cult, I mean nothing derogatory to any group so classified. A cult, as I define it, is any religious group which differs significantly in one or more respects as to belief or practice from those religious groups which are regarded as the normative expressions of religion in our total culture." Close quote. Martin added to this by stating that, quote, "A cult might also be defined as a group of people gathered about a specific person or person's misinterpretation of the Bible," close quote. To Martin, Latter-day Saints fit this definition because, quote, "they adhere to those interpretations found in the writings of Joseph Smith and Brigham Young and continued by their current president, called the prophet, seer, and revelator." From a theological viewpoint, the cults contain many major deviations from historical Christianity, yet paradoxically, they continue to insist that they are entitled to be classified as Christians, close quote. Since the beginning of the counter-cult movement, Latter-day Saints have dealt with being called a cult largely due to the influence of Martin and others in the evangelical community. Yet, as noted earlier, the traditional meaning of the term cult refers to the veneration or worship of a certain figure or object. Truly, all religions fit this description in one way or another. In fact, historians and theologians often refer to the beginning period of Christianity as the cult of Jesus of Nazareth. Some recent evangelical leaders have stopped using the term cult to describe the Mormon Church or its members. For example, Richard Mouw, the president emeritus of Fuller Theological Seminary, explained, quote, "This talk about cult and the like, when referring to the LDS Church, is no longer very helpful because when people hear the word cult, they think of Jonestown, they think of Scientology, they think of weird brainwashing, and that's not them. For one thing, it's a major religious movement, 14 million Mormons, and usually cults are a very small minority group on the edges of the margins of the culture." Jan Ships, a Methodist and very fine historian of Mormonism, argues that Mormonism is to Christianity very similar to what Christianity is to Judaism. That is, there is continuity and discontinuity. Now, in the early days, Christianity was seen as a cult to the Jews, and Jews no longer think of us as a cult or a sect, and I think we owe the same thing to our Mormon friends, close quote. On another occasion, Mouw excluded Mormonism as a cult for different reasons. Quote, "Brigham Young University is a world-class educational institution with professors who've earned doctorates from some of the best universities in the world. Several of the top leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have PhDs from Ivy League schools. These folks talk admiringly of the evangelical Billy Graham and the Catholic Mother Teresa, and they enjoy reading the evangelical C.S. Lewis and Father Henry Nouwen, a Catholic. That is not the kind of thing you run into in anti-Christian cults. I do accept many of my Mormon friends as genuine followers of the Jesus whom I worship as the divine Savior." Close quote. So the answer to whether Mormons are a cult comes down to how you define the term. If you see a cult as a religious movement that falls outside the confines of evangelical Christianity, then Mormons fit the bill. However, if you define a cult as something fanatical or sinister, Mormons wouldn't qualify. Please like and subscribe. And for an objective look at more topics on Mormonism, visit MormonismExplained.org. Thanks for watching.